Evans,
Here.
Roseland. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And just so everyone knows, we are expecting 2 members to call in tonight. And we thought they were on the phone just a minute ago, Pat
Can you hear
Roseland
me?
and Richie Nordstrom. Pat, are you there? Richie Nordstrom, are you there? See, this is another great example of technology making our lives easier. They'll
Here.
join. Okay. Was that Richie? Okay, who was it?
This is Jesse.
Oh, Jesse. Okay, Jesse's calling in. So we've got Jesse Ham, and we expect to have 2 others. So, okay, Richie says he's
I'm
on.
here.
This is Richie. I'm having a hard time hearing you folks.
Okay, so we have Richie Nordstrom online, we have Pat Roseland online, and Jesse Ham.
Pat is here.
Okay.
Jesse is here.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, we have a quorum anyway. Now, next on the agenda is the invocation, and that'll be by our very own Alderman Pat Jones. And following the invocation will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pat is here.
Please join me in a mindful state of prayer. Heavenly Father, we invite your presence at this meeting tonight. We ask that you would bless all who are here to serve the good people of Rapid City. We ask that you would guide us in our decisions, in our discussions, in our actions today, tomorrow, and in the future. That what we do and what we say will give glory and honor to you, will serve the needs and wants of our citizens, and allow Rapid City to continue to be the star of the West. We ask your blessing of safety and peace upon us as we do the work of the citizens of Rapid City, and bless those who are in attendance, either in person or watching. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now for the adoption of the agenda. This is a time where the council can adopt the agenda as written, or they can make certain alterations to it. Would there be a motion? Motion to approve by Armstrong. Second by Evans. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Okay, motion passes. Now down to general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at this meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. We have one general public comment speaker request tonight,
Aye.
and that is from Brian Peck. And the speakers tonight have 3 minutes, and you can watch these lights up here to see how you're doing for time.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm working on a project to move the feedings that are taking place for the homeless people from the band shell at the Civic Center to possibly over by the soccer field in North Rapid. We're looking at, I'm going to build a model of that, actually an actual full-size building across the street. I have the property directly across the street from that, and I want to build a 30-foot teepee band shell, and so I can show you guys what that will look like, but we want to put that band shell in the corner of that soccer field, and I'm also proposing that we do a temporary, through this winter at least, a safe bed facility for people where they don't have to be drunk to get in. It will house up to 80 people in that facility, which will save the city an incredible amount of money from having safe bed costs as well as ambulance costs and so forth. Anyway, things are walking along really well, and I hope to keep you posted on that. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. That'll conclude our general public comment period. Now on to non-public hearing items 1 through 66. There are no, I'm going to open public comment on items 1 through 59, and there are no comment forms. So we'll go on to consent items 1 through 59. Would the council have any items they want to remove? We'll go to Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 9, please.
Greg Stroman. 8. Okay. Any other items to be removed? Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 20, please.
Okay, last call. Any other items to come off of the consent calendar? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent items with the exception of 9, 20, 24, 28. Motion by everyone. Motion by Lehman and second by Pat Jones. All in favor of approving the consent items, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, now down to item number 9. Rapid City Cannabis, doing business as Rapid City Cannabis for a new retail malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license and a retail wine and cider license at 3075 North Plaza Drive, Suite B. We'll go to Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Some questions about this. At one time, I remember being told either that if a place wanted video lottery machines, they had to have a malt beverage license, or if they wanted to have a malt beverage license, they had to have video lottery machines, or one way or the other. Is there someone here that can clarify that for me? Because
Certainly.
I need some clarity on that before we move forward.
Certainly. Pauline Sumption, Finance Director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To have video lottery machines, you either have to have an on-sale liquor license or a malt beverage that has video lottery with it.
And so item number 9 is neither of those, is that correct then?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Now, I will, if I may, Mayor, continue with my question. Items 5 through 10 all have the words special event in them, identifying that they are a one-time use of the license. Item number 9 does not say that. So are we to assume then that item number 9 is for a permanent use on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license on-off sale?
Yes.
This is the first time since we've gotten into the weed business that we've had to address an issue of a medical marijuana place having an on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license. This concerns me in a lot of ways. I'm curious as to why a medical facility that they claim and identify to be want to have or need to have a retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license and retail on-off sale wine and cider license. I think this is a horrible idea. I think it's we keep going further and further down the rat hole on this topic, and who is going to take a stand on some of this stuff as our community shows signs already of the negative impacts of marijuana billboards and marijuana posters and places that have said that they're all about helping people and helping them address their illnesses and their sicknesses, when we know that medical marijuana is an oxymoron term. You can get prescribed as much as you can afford. So I'm very, very concerned about us going down this road. This is the first one, to my knowledge, that's come forward, and I don't see any reason why we should support something like this when it's been such a facade from the beginning. I obviously will be voting no, adamantly, vehemently, no on this, and I encourage the rest of the council to really think about what we're doing with this, because the vote for whether or not to approve recreational marijuana is coming up in November. And so everything that's taken place is just leading the path, setting a precedence for lowering the bar of what we think about Rapid City and want people to think about. It's amazing to me that a few years ago, the citizens of South Dakota overwhelmingly voted to not allow smoking in public because of the danger and the harms it could cause people. We talk about that, or that was a big issue, and it's in place now, and most people believe it's improved lives for the community. And yet we are now being pulled down a road where medical marijuana is now easily available, and we're one vote away from possibly recreational marijuana and gummies and chewies and all of this stuff coming forward and getting into the hands of kids and into our schools. So the two thought concepts are polar opposites. And little things like this are what get us there. And I encourage the council to really think about what we're doing with this. And do we want to create a place that sells apparently medical marijuana at this time and have it also sell on and off sale beer and wine? I think it's a dangerous mistake and a dangerous road for us to go down. And I encourage us, as the final say in these things, I hate to use the word moral compass because none of us who sit up here are sin-free or anything even close. I might be the worst one up here. However, I'm scared. I'm scared about the direction that we're going with these things, and who but us are the ones to put the brakes on it and prevent it from going any further. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go now to Vicki Fisher, the Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So our reaction when we first saw this application come in, because remember, it first requires a conditional use permit for them to bring forward this use, was similar. And then we looked at some of the other cannabis uses that are in strip malls where there might be a packaged liquor store within that facility. We had one that came forward that was adjacent in the same building as a convenience store, and so they sell wine and beer, and they would have a dispensary right next to it. In this case, there is acknowledgement that if they have it within the dispensary itself, they can only sell to those that have a medical card, that get screened at the door, that are a minimum age of 21, of course, and so it's going to be very limited clientele. In reviewing this specific to state law, we first thought that when we read that long document that it said that you couldn't sell anything else in a dispensary, but that is not the case. Some states have revised their state laws to catch up that would remove any kind of alcohol sales. South Dakota is not there yet. So we too are watching this very closely.
And I might add, before we go to Laura Armstrong, that this is an item set for hearing. Laura Armstrong.
You beat me to it, Mayor. That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a Jason Solomon.
May I direct a question to Director Fisher, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you mentioned the conditional use permit. I'm assuming this is something we already addressed in voting on this location before, because it probably falls within some exceptions.
I will confirm that if this item should go forward, but I believe yes.
Okay, I was curious. You know, there's a church not too far down the road from this, but I know that's one of the criteria. So I just wanted to make sure that if it requires, I don't remember voting on this particular one, so.
Nor would you.
For a CUP, but I wanted to double check that didn't mean, I forget what the requirement is for distance, but I think that would be obviously another thing to look at. Thank you.
Move to approve. Okay, we have a motion by by Lance Lehman to approve, second by John Roberts. All in favor of approval say aye. Opposed? No. Roll call vote, please.
No.
Hold on.
Lehman, Solomon, Evans,
Aye.
Roseland,
No.
Nordstrom,
Aye.
Ham, Roberts, Stroman, Armstrong, Jones, Ham.
No.
Motion passes 6-4.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, item 20, approve request from KTM Design Solutions for an exception to allow more than 40 dwelling units along Cloud Peak Drive, only one point of access per section 2.6 of the Infrastructure Design Criteria Manual. A single access can only serve 40 dwelling units unless approved by City Council. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I direct a question to Director Tech for item number 20?
Yes.
Director Tech, I know you all had this discussion at Public Works, but always a concern when I see a single access that requires an exception. Could you provide us an overview on why the staff's recommending approval of this?
Sure.
Or it might be more of a Director Fisher thing too, but just,
Actually, it's Chief Culberson, but I'll field it.
why
this
are
is-
y'all okay with this?
Yeah, this is a phased development. Certainly, they submitted an initial phasing plan, and as they've constructed the phasing, they find efficiencies. One reason, and the main reason I think staff supported this, is they are building a temporary access to allow for a second means of ingress and egress. So the 53 lots that are being approved, that's temporary in nature, but they are making a temporary immediate secondary means of ingress and egress. So there will be another way in and out of there as part of this.
For
But
fire reasons. Now with the temporary, is it anticipated that with future phasing, that is a permanent
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
access
In
point?
fact, I believe that the route that they're using as temporary will be a future roadway. We just can't call it a roadway now because it doesn't meet any standards.
Standards.
It'll be a temporary surface.
Okay, and Chief Culberson, did you have anything to add to that?
Nope, I think Director Tech said that perfectly.
Okay, thank you. Yield.
Okay, I'm sorry, do we need a motion on 20? Motion to approve by Jones, second by Armstrong. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 24, authorize Mayor and Finance Director to sign professional services agreement for construction administration services for the Dinosaur Park accessibility improvements, and that is Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. When I was looking at the summary that we received, it says that Parks and Rec is requesting authorization for the mayor and finance director to sign a professional services agreement with Tallgrass Landscape Architecture for $202,129. Says that Tallgrass has designed and submitted construction documents to upgrade Dinosaur Park, which I believe was a Vision Fund project that we all approved. Bring safety features up to code, new amenities, et cetera. Consultant has also provided bidding services under a contract from May 2021. And when I look at that contract in May 2021, things that are being requested in this new contract, if it is a new contract, are pretty close to the same things that we already contracted for. And maybe Mr. Biegler could explain it to me, or maybe Mr. Tech could, but it seems that we're hiring the same consultant that designed it to provide basic and expanded construction services, including construction oversight and project closeout, but it says in the previous contract that the city was doing that. So I need some clarification as to what we're trying to contract for here. May I ask Director Biegler?
Jeff Biegler.
Thank you very much. Yes, the original contract that we had, that we have with Tallgrass is for the design services, to design all of the improvements at the site. And the construction administration portion of that was held back. We were counting our dollars when we went into this project, had very limited resources, and so we decided to hold back the contract administration contract until after we got the first one done. Then we decided that we would put this out for construction administration, having Tallgrass, since they are the ones who will be dealing with all of the contractors on the job, do also the contract administration and closeout services for that. So it was not anything that we're duplicating services from our original contract. These are separate services from those.
Can I continue?
Yes, please.
Mayor? Jeff, in that previous contract, in section 4.1.13, it says that the city shall designate a representative authorized to act on the city's behalf with respect to the project. So are we basically authorizing Tallgrass to be our representative on their contract?
Actually, we do have city staff that is in charge of this project. However, they are not, they don't have the time or expertise to actually be up there every day to inspect all the materials that come in, to inspect all of the other phases of this project. So it is correct that we do have city staff that is kind of a liaison, a middleman between the contractor and the designer and the city. So we do have city eyes on this, but this contract is for the professional contract administration by the company that's going to be holding these contractors' feet to the fire, if you will, and making sure that everything is done with the best interest of the city in mind.
I guess it still looks to me like we're paying Tallgrass to comply with their own contract instead of, I'm just not following that. But to me, it seems like it's because we asked them to design and bid it and oversee the bids, and then we're asking them to make sure that they do the job right after they bid it. I thought we would have an independent oversight, which I thought, according to that paragraph 4.1.13, was going to be someone from the city. That's my issue with that. Unless I was clarified, I couldn't support this. Thank you.
Let's go to Dale Tech.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps I can provide a little clarification there. Tallgrass is the consultant that's doing the design and construction administration. They are not constructing the project, so we're going to be bidding the project. Actually, we already have bid the project, so it'll be a contractor doing the work, physical work on the project. And Tallgrass will be doing what we consider Task 4 and Task 5, which is the, if you look at page 11 of the attachment, gives the detailed scope of their services during the construction administration phase. So Tallgrass's, in a nutshell, Tallgrass's responsibility is to ensure that the contractor builds the project per the design that was bid.
Anything else? Okay. All right, could use a motion then on 24? Or are we on 24? Okay, motion to approve by Solomon, second by Laura Armstrong on item 24.
Mr. Mayor.
Jason Solomon.
So before we take the vote on it, I think that was a sufficient answer. I think Mr. Stroman asked excellent questions, because if that was the case, that would be a problem. I think Mr. Tech clearing that up, that those who designed it, that those who constructing it are actually a different deal. I do think the city needs to stay engaged in the process and not outsource all complete, this is a big deal. We are, those of us who made that vote, we're very excited about this dinosaur park project, but we want to make sure it's done above reproach. And so I appreciate Mr. Stroman's questions, and I also appreciate Director Tech's response. I think that clears it up for me. So thank you.
Okay, Pat Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. So do we know who the contractor is going to be for the project? And then do they have any association at all with Tallgrass?
We do have a contractor, it's Mack Construction, and no, they do not have an association with Tallgrass.
And so Tallgrass is in charge of the project getting done to the specs that they designed, and then Tallgrass won't get paid until those specs, I assume, they have to make sure that those things get done in order to earn their money.
Absolutely.
So they won't make their money until or unless the project is done properly. And we will have a city parks person actively involved in the mix.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, motion on item 24 is to approve. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Jones.
Aye.
Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Roseland. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Ham.
Aye.
Roseland. Motion passes 8-1.
Okay, thank you. Item 28, authorize mayor and finance director to sign exclusive listing and agency agreement and real estate relationships disclosure with Remax Advantage for the sale of Lot 4 of Owen Hibbard subdivision. Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I was looking at this, sell the extra, or the surplus real property on South Highway, Fire Station 6. There's a lot of construction going on out there now. The VA clinic, the monument's got construction going on all up and down 16. And I have a question. I don't know if it's for Chief Culberson or if it's for Pauline. I'd like to ask Pauline so we can get as many questions answered before she leaves. But attempt made to sell this without engaging a realtor and the that go with it, and bidding process, or how does this come to be?
So I was not involved with this part of the process. I was involved when we first surplused the property, and we had a group of freeholders get together to put value on that property. It was determined at that time that it was in the city's best interest to wait until that development started occurring out there for the chance that it would give a higher value to that property. But from there, I was not involved, so I can't help you with those answers.
Chief Culberson, then? Chief, do you know the answer? Was there any effort to try to sell this without engaging a realtor?
I'm not a real estate agent, nor am I adept at selling any type of commercial property, so no, there was not an attempt by us to do it any other way than utilizing a real estate agent. I have some significant concerns already today with just having an appropriate agent that can sell commercial property. I know that piece of property is probably very valuable and somebody will snatch it up, but having that opportunity, I'm not sure. I guess I never even considered it because I don't think it was a piece of the puzzle at the time. As far as what your second question, I think, was about selection process. And we contacted a few real estate agents and had them give us proposals, and we selected from that, much like we've done other consultants. And if you ask me the names, I can't give those to you because I wasn't directly involved, so I can get them though.
Did you run those by any, like the city attorney or anything
Yep.
like that?
That's why we got to that point where we were at, and how we got to doing the selection process for a real estate agent and going to that depth. Negotiated with those real estate agents, also the ones that we talked about, for their fees, and it was determined that one was the best.
Thank you.
Pat Jones?
Thank you very much, Mayor. I remember at a recent Legal and Finance meeting, we discussed this very same topic, and I asked Chief Culbertson about the process of how the realtor was selected and et cetera, and he went into a little more extensive detail at that meeting for us, but that was a question that I had and others had too, to make sure that, you know, we weren't just picking someone's cousin or something like that, and I was assured that, you know, they had a process. Realtors had to submit proposals, as he said, and so they had to earn the right to sell this property for the city. Now, whether or not that is our best move or the right thing to do, you know, there may be some other options at this point. Not sure. Greg asked some excellent questions, and I'm looking forward to hear from Councilman Roberts and others as we continue to discuss this. Thank you.
John Roberts.
Thank you very much. I've always found this process kind of interesting because I am a commercial real estate agent. And, you know, one of the things that I thought would probably be best for the city is if we would put this out for broker price opinions from the beginning. So we get 4 or 5 brokers to come forward and say what this property is worth, and then we can compare those prices before we go out and we look for somebody to sell it. Because it's always better to have an opinion on price before you throw it out, because you're going to get people that may or may not be qualified, and they may give you, you do have broker price opinions on it?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't want to break into yours.
No.
We do have an appraisal from Ron Roskinek that we had done earlier this year.
Okay.
In preparation for this.
There's a difference between an appraisal and a broker.
I'm sure there are. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's, when you ask me if I work on getting, no, I'm not, so.
You know, and the market changes so fast. I mean, anybody that's seen what's happened in Rapid City in the last 2 years, you know, the market is kind of slowing a little bit right at the moment, but for the last 2 years, we've seen, you know, double-digit increases every year. So, you know, I don't know. One of the things that's always really scared me is putting together this group of freeholders that know absolutely nothing about real estate. And, you know, as a city, we're the stewards of everybody's money, so we should be looking for the professionals out there, just like our staff are the professionals, to put a value on these properties. Because we should be getting, you know, what is the best price for the citizens of Rapid City. And yes, I've got invitations for these before, but I would never do it because there's too much of a conflict of interest there. So I would, you know, and my company hasn't been involved with those either because of the conflict of interest. So, but I've got a lot of knowledge. If people would like something, you've always got my phone numbers, my emails. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Bill Evans?
My only concern with the sale of this is if we back up about 14 months, talking about the fire station and the fact that we had no land to expand it and it's such a construction problem. And I said, who wasn't thinking about that when they gave away the mission site, the old city hall and everything? You got to be able to think farther than next week. And had we had that, we wouldn't have had that problem expanding the station, having such a constricted design that we eventually ended up building. Now, we don't know if there's a possibility that some facility may be needed out there. I know that's a pretty good size station. Are we going to need a larger station? Are we going to need a branch library? Are we going to need something? I don't see any problem with us owning that land and continuing to hold on to it for the future. Because it's very obvious there's a huge population shift to that portion of town. And like they say in the business, they ain't building no more land. That's all it is. And we've got it. I don't see any reason to sell it at such a small amount of money, but the problems that might solve 15, 20, 30 years down the road by hanging on to it and having that be a city resource. I just don't see any reason to sell it in the first place. Thank you.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I direct a question to our fire chief?
Please.
Chief Culberson, with the sale of this, what was your goal to direct those surplus funds toward, just for clarification?
So both of those pieces of property are non-contiguous to the station that's out there currently. They're across the street and about a quarter of a block to the south. And one's right across the street, that 6-acre piece. And back in at least 2014, there's a resolution that was put out for these pieces of property to be sold and declared surplus in order to finance and fund, whether it be, one piece is for fire department use, the other one is Station 1 and or Station 2. Station 2 is our training facility and our training station just on the north side of town. And Station 1, obviously, one of the things we need to do in order to continue that construction project is move our maintenance facility so that we just don't have room for them anymore. So we're selling that piece of property, and that's the main reason behind why we're moving now. Obviously, prices are good, but also in order to move that maintenance facility to be more appropriate. The other portions of that will be utilized for storage. We have nowhere that we're storing equipment apparatus, vehicles, equipment. We have zero indoor space left, and we need to build a storage facility. We actually have fire apparatus being stored at one of our division chief's personal shop out west of town. And so we need more space. So that's why we're really looking to sell this in order to develop our other piece of property and meet the goals that we need to meet.
I appreciate that response. I think it is, obviously a good time to sell. I do think two valid questions are raised tonight. One from Alderman Stroman with regards to, and this is maybe not even so much you, it's about the city. Is it possible to have legal documentation just to list and for us to be able to handle that without a realtor? I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I do think that's one question that sits out there. And the second one, and probably even more important, is what Alderman Roberts points out, is are we getting the most bang for the buck? Are we getting the most value? Are we basing this on 8-month-old data that could cost us some money? Are we getting not just an appraisal, but what we think it'll actually sell for? I think he's offered to tap into his knowledge. I think he's really skilled in this area. I think it would be wise, since he doesn't have a conflict here, to seek maybe his and others' opinions out. But I do think it's an interesting question Mr. Stroman brings up with regards to when we have land transaction, do we always need to use a realtor or not? I've always been under the impression, yes, because there are some finer details that maybe an attorney may not always know. So that's why I've always gone with it. But I think I would love to hear a response to that, because I think it's a valid question that folks may be saying, yeah, what about that? Thank you.
Jason, you want a response from the fire chief?
Fire chief, or I suppose any staff member who would want to say, why we use a realtor. I think it's just the question sits out there. Why we use a realtor, and how do we best appraise this? And is what we're doing the best way to go about it? Do you have a response?
I appreciate Councilman Roberts' conversation. I'd never heard that before, and so maybe he and I should have had a decent conversation before today. But I had been approached, one of the past fire chiefs did suggest doing an auction, which made me nervous in the first place, just simply doing an auction. That's why I chose a real estate agent. They're the experts in that field, and I'm not going to expect a real estate agent to come in and tell me how to run the ambulance service or the fire department. I'm not going to ask them their expertise either, and so that's why I feel it's best. And we negotiated with them. Could we have gotten maybe a little less? Maybe, but there was a lot of discussion on pricing and. But yeah, I guess I'm kind of circling around. Do you have anything to say?
If I might, Mayor.
Yes.
The city can dispose of property either using a real estate agent, an auction, or sealed bids. Or I had informed the mayor that I believe when Jason Green was the city attorney, he also got his real estate license, and so he was able to handle those transactions on behalf of the city where he thought he was able to. So it did save us the commission at that time. I don't think, and I could be wrong, that anybody on staff currently has their real estate license where we could have done that as part of their duties for the city. But it has been done before.
Thank you very much. In the state of South Dakota, any attorney can go and get a real estate license. So it's kind of interesting. But I do believe we should use realtors, you know. Yeah, I do. I do believe that. I don't think auctions are always the best thing to do. I think that, you know, especially if you do an absolute auction, you can really sell things cheaply. You know, and I've looked at that property quite a few times over the years, talked to Tim Billings a few times about it, had some people a few years back that were interested in it. There's some challenges with that property. It's not a buildable 7.5 acres, even though it shows it's 7.5 acres. Going and just reviewing real quick, what they're asking for it is well within what that property is worth. I don't think they're trying to lowball that property. It's probably a little more, actually, than what it's going to sell for, I think. I don't think that they're too far out of line with the commission that they're asking. It is a little higher than the average for commercial real estate, but it's not terribly out of line. So I don't think that the city is getting a bad deal in any way on this. I don't think that, you know, I don't think that we as a city should go out and just put a sign up and say, Rapid City, you know, 7 acres for sale, and throw it into legal and have them start, you know, start working on these offers and counter offers and all the good things that you have that go along with it. So I think that what's here is not a bad deal for the city of Rapid City. I hope we get every penny that we're asking for it, or close, and I think it will be good for the city of Rapid City. Thank you.
City Attorney.
Director Sumption was right. I just pulled the statute for the options available, and like she said, you can receive sealed bids as required in SDCL 6-13, that chapter, or the municipality can sell at a public auction or by listing the property with one or more licensed real estate brokers. And so when we were talking about the potential options, obviously nobody in the city attorney's office feels comfortable right now, you know, basically becoming a realtor. So obviously that requires lots of expertise in that area and knowing what the comps are, being really familiar with Black Hills MLS, and also, you know, you would have to get your broker's license in order to put stuff on Black Hills MLS. So that's obviously something for a realtor in terms of the city attorney's office opinion, and the other options just didn't seem like the best route to go. So just wanted to confirm that, yeah, there are state statutes saying the different ways the property can be disposed of.
Okay, thank you. Well, I could use a motion on item 28. To approve by Solomon, second by Pat Jones, and we'll just go to roll call, please.
Lehman. Roseland.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Evans.
Nay.
Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Ham.
Aye.
Solomon. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes 9-1.
Okay, thank you. That will take us through the consent items and take us to non-consent items 60 through 66. We'll open public comment on those items. We have one speaker request form on item 61 from Alan Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. Alan Anderson, Chairman, current Chair of your Sustainability Committee. I have also three other folks from the committee with me, Dave Holland, Kathy Thrash, and Lisanne Zeller, who've, again, taking time out away from their families to come and advocate for this position. We've been advocating for this for quite a while. We haven't been very good at communicating that to you guys, but we've been working on it for quite a while, and it's exciting to see it break into serious discussions. I would like to thank everybody for their discussions so far. Over the last couple of months, it's been quite a bit. Thank you, Mayor, for your time with us where we could talk more about, in more detail about what the position is and how it could benefit the city. Thank you to the City Council for all of your discussions over the last month or two, your thoughtful input, and in trying to figure out if to do this, how to do it, when to do it. I really appreciate that. Thanks to the department heads, Community Development and Public Works especially, for their time with us. It's been an education experience for us, and hopefully we've imparted to people why it's important to Rapid City. When we met with the mayor, he came up with a very interesting idea that I hadn't thought about before, and he talked about the idea of a retreat to bring council members together and department heads together, with some members of our committee, and possibly even, I might add, Visit Rapid City or Elevate Rapid City, School of Mines, or Western Dakota Tech, or all of them, because they all have an interest in sustainability and how it plays out in the city. So his idea was to have this retreat, figure out how you all want to do this, if you want to do it, and in conjunction with the business leaders of the city, and then go from there. If it's a go, hire the position and implement it. Another option is to hire the position, have that person sit in on those retreats, and with the benefit of their education and hopefully experience, help guide and guide the discussion, listen to the input from everybody and see what they really want, and help structure how that position would be implemented. I can speak for the committee. I think we would support either of those possibilities, and we would do whatever we could to contribute to them. So we'll stand by. If there's any questions tonight, we'll be glad to help. And anything in the future, just let us know. And if you would like an individual presentation from what we showed the mayor, we'd be glad to do it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, and that'll close the public comment period, and we'll move on under ordinances to item 60. Introduction and first reading of ordinance 6551 regarding supplemental appropriation number 3 for 2022. Motion to approve Armstrong, second by Lehman. All in favor of approval of item 60, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 61, second reading, ordinance 6550 regarding the FY 2023 appropriation ordinance. No. Is there a motion on item 61? Okay, motion to approve by Lehman. Is there a second? Second by Pat Jones. We'll go to Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For clarification for the motion, is that as we discussed at the last budget hearing, because it's not necessarily attached in there, that's all the specifics of what we talked about? So maybe I can get some clarification before we would vote on that.
That is my understanding.
The two additions that you guys added at the last budget hearing are included, which is the 5 organizations getting their own and 200,000 for Parks and Rec. Was there a third one then that I'm missing? Okay.
Okay. So that's what's on the table right now. Okay. And we got a second on that, just to be clear?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Laura Armstrong.
Okay, here we go. Last-ditch effort for sustainability coordinator. So I'm going to need some help navigating this motion. I'd like to add a sustainability coordinator to the 2023 budget, capped out at $80,000 with the money coming from our sales tax. Did I do that right?
Okay, so what I hear from that is a substitute motion to approve with the addition of a sustainability coordinator, 80,000.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Second by Bill Evans.
If I may continue.
Yes, you may.
I think it is very important to have a roadmap to this, and while I appreciate the mayor offering a retreat for the people that are maybe still on the fence or a hard no, my suggestion is to please get this into the budget, get this approved. We can form a task force or a retreat, bang out the details. I spoke with some people over the weekend. They had concerns about the word sustainability and what that meant, but we could clarify that. The third step would be we could wait for the Gallagher report in December. In January, we can edit and draft this job description, and whoever wants to be involved can be. And in early spring, issue the job vacancy. And then doing the sixth step would be a hiring panel. And once again, anybody could be a part of that, or we could formulate someone to do that, kind of like how we did for the police chief and the fire chief. I think that would be a safe and conservative approach. Getting it into the budget does not mean that we're definitely going to do it, but we can have input from, I don't want to say the naysayers, but the people that have concerns about this. And again, I want to reiterate, our citizen-led sustainability committee has been asking for this close to a decade. Out of pure respect, we need to listen to our constituents. In addition, we have the support from our economic drivers, people in Elevate, people with Visit Rapid City, business owners, constituents. It doesn't hurt to put it in the budget and explore this. I think if we did this cautiously, carefully, and getting people's concerns, I think we can come to an agreement where we are all on board and comfortable. This is not a unicorn. Other cities have this, even in Sioux Falls, even in the region. I would implore my colleagues to take this matter seriously, respect the committee, respect the people that are giving input, and I'll stop now. Thank you.
Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Sustainability. The ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level, such as the sustainability of economic growth. avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance, the pursuit of global environmental sustainability, are a couple of definitions. I think 3 years ago, if you would have asked people on the street what sustainability meant or what a sustainability coordinator might be or do, you wouldn't have a clue. And I think a lot of people right now would probably respond the same way. They don't have a clue. All we've learned about sustainability in the last few months is what California has announced they're going to do in 2035, and that's making people nervous. Of course, California makes people nervous, so that's another story. I am in mostly agreement with my colleague, Councilwoman Armstrong. I can't support starting by hiring someone and then doing the work. I am interested in supporting the concept of placing it in the budget as a placeholder and then very thoroughly studying what it would be. What things does that person or does that position have to fix? What do they have to look out for us? We continue to learn more and more that in this world we have to trust the experts, trust the people who know what they're doing as we navigate the choppy waters of living from day to day. So I believe that we would have to have every single thing, our amazing sustainability committee's input, Visit Rapid City, Elevate, the council, our citizens, and anyone else who had an opinion or a comment have the opportunity to bring that forward. Because we're creating something that, again, for most people, we have no idea what it is. And government hiring tends to have a reputation that once you have it, it doesn't ever go away. Not that this should go away, but we shouldn't just hire someone for the sake of hiring someone. So I believe that the hiring of that person should be the last step that takes place, and that we know exactly what it is, what it isn't, what we're looking for in requirements for the person, and every single darn thing that we can before we were to actually hire someone. Because then we would know if it's a good thing and what the fit needs to be for Rapid City. So I can support it if that's the path. I can't support it if hiring the person is the initial move. And it may be that after a tremendous amount of study, we say, no, this isn't the right time to do this, or something in between. But we need to really study it and look at it and know what we're doing at the deepest level before we do it. But I can support placing it in the budget as a placeholder to allow the process to begin. Thank you.
Bill Evans.
I sort of agree with Mr. Jones that we should put it in the budget right away and worry about hiring the right person later, because I think it's an act of faith. It's a demonstration of direction we have as a community. We've waited long enough, and since I've been on the council for the last 3 years, it seems like no other position we've funded has received this amount of scrutiny, this amount of attention to detail about what that person does before we budget for it. This seems to be an effort again to stall, delay, whatever, because I don't believe there's some belief by some people that this is a necessary or desirable particular position. I believe that it is. As I drove along Campbell Street, watching the new curb and gutter going in, another instance where we don't have enough room to plant trees in that small median. And millions of dollars are being spent in a design that is not environmentally friendly. It bothers me. We keep doing this in this town, building median strips and highways that aren't wide enough to support the growth of a tree. Not all communities do that. Some places actually design their streets so you can have a city that doesn't, build a huge hot spot in the middle of already what is a hot spot, a semi-arid climate. Well, a sustainability person may have had the time to explore that. That could be part of the job description. I mean, it just seems like we don't have anybody who's tasked with doing these sort of things that make this more environmentally, more desirable place to live. And I see this position as being part of that solution because we haven't made much progress in the 3 years I've been on the council about solving these sort of situations. When I look at East Boulevard and how we missed the chance to really recover a gorgeous city thoroughfare, didn't happen. Well, nobody was on the ball. And then I look at the design of Omaha Street as it goes west, turns into West Chicago, and the skinny little median there, and we didn't really get any review. And when I went to the DOT meeting and I asked them, why do we not get any input on this? Because I see better designs going up in Sioux Falls. Well, we send them to your city, we don't get any feedback. Well, this is a problem, and it's a problem on our end of process, because we certainly don't get a copy of it, so we're not on the ball knowing that it's time to review those things. Perhaps a person in that position could address such things. When they see these projects, they're going to have huge impacts on the desirability, the visual attractiveness of this city forever. I also see this person as a way, we have trouble maintaining staff. Well, part of that job description could be sustaining the staff and having those kind of workshops that make it possible for us to make changes in the culture around here that makes us building a place people want to work rather than a place that people want to run from the minute they get a chance. So I think, like Mr. Jones, it's time to fund it. We can worry about putting the right person in the job at a later date, but I think it sends a strong signal to fund it now and show them that we're on the path to completing this process. Thank you.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of comments. The reason I voted against this the first time around is that there was no roadmap, to use the phrase that's being used this evening. I can support it now with the outline of this roadmap that's being placed forward. And some other things that we have to discuss yet as well is hopefully the Mayor Allender, if you will continue supporting a retreat on a discussion for this position, I would really appreciate that opportunity to have that retreat. One other thing that I would like to see is, I would be more comfortable, if you will, if it was placed or parked as a whole under this council budget. I won't vote against it because if it doesn't make it there, I'm okay with that. And then one other place is that I'd be more comfortable if the idea or the concept of putting a commission together would be formulated in that roadmap discussion as well. Again, that's not a reason I would vote against it if I didn't make it in there, but I think a commission is a better way to go for that. And then I agree with everybody else's concern is that the candidate application should be the final step in the process, but I don't think it should be the final step. We have to go through the evaluation of the candidates that apply and hiring that position. And then the other last final point that I have is supporting the commission is because I think it will be easier to be able to come up with ideas for the grants that are available that we're missing out on right now. And this would also help the position that would be in place for a grant writer. And then I see this position being a coordinator for all the other positions that we have within the city that are doing their just little portion of the entire work for sustainability. So bottom line is I support this because now we have a roadmap. Otherwise, without that roadmap, I still couldn't support this. But I can get there tonight. Thank you. I yield.
Jesse Ham.
Thank you. The reason that I originally voted no on this situation is because the specificity prior to funding any position, and this is probably, I guess I would call it old school position, but from a business owner standpoint, I will have a difficult time supporting something where we're going to formulate the definition of the position specifically after we fund it. There's been 10 years of, I mean, this is, of course, history that I don't know the details of, but the discussion was there's been 10 years of need for a sustainability coordinator. And I'm sure that the Sustainability Committee has every intention that's positive. I read the outline that I was sent. And from my perspective, if I'm looking at this, I need more details about the specificity as to how this role suits our particular city. I understand that these are common in other cities, Sioux Falls included. But in this case, my preference and my vote will be for working through this process and gaining a real clear knowledge of what this will be rather than creating a situation that could be adversarial within the committee of folks that are designing it after we fund it. So at present, my vote will be a no. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. Briefly, I agree with my colleagues that think we should put this in the budget. I initially was a little bit afraid of the liberal connotation of the sustainability. It's kind of a buzzword that makes you think about California, which is not sustainable, but I'm over that. I think that after the discussions we've had, and considering the rapid growth in Rapid City, it's probably time that we have a position like this, and someone who can help us make the growth that happens here, just put another set of eyes on it that will help it be an attractive growth, and we'd have attractive additions to the city. So I think we're all going to benefit from something like this if we have it in place. I agree we should budget for it. I think the benefits will be both tangible and intangible, but I think they'll be real, and so I think that we should go ahead and move forward with this.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate everybody's comments. I appreciate the Sustainability Committee's work. Appreciate Dave Holland's phone call with me. I think that was helpful. Appreciate, just throw it out there, Ms. Armstrong gave me a call last week with her plan. I think I understand. I think everybody's coming from a well-intended place. My concern is not really so much with the position, but the process. I think that's been my statement on this. And part of it is the definition of sustainability. Dr. Jones gave us a couple, but just in hearing the arguments tonight, I've heard it's about sustainable growth in terms of population for our city. Another person, we've talked about sustainable environmental impact. I've heard sustainability in terms of our human resources. I've heard sustainability with regards to beautification. There's so many variables that when I say sustainability, I'm not sure what definition we're all using. So I go to Mr. Ham's observation, is I think it's better to have an agreed upon plan, and if part of that plan means staffing one or more people, then that's part of the plan and we execute the plan. The item before this, item 60, was supplemental appropriation number 3. So if we were to not put this in the budget, if it didn't pass tonight, it doesn't mean those conversations can't happen, and you don't have a supplemental appropriation throughout the next year because of a plan that, for the most part, the elected body as well as the citizens that are engaged and the city staff all understand and can get behind. So the fact is, I think it's a cart before the horse situation. So a no today is not necessarily a no forever, depending on what we want to do. And if we do it, I like the idea of partnering with organizations like Visit Rapid City and Elevate. For today's purposes, to put it in at the bottom of the ninth in this budget up here, even though it's been discussed in many other corners for 10 years, the fact is that we don't have an agreed upon definition that we all understand and can cheer on. And some of that's lessons learned from from how we've hired people in the past. So I would agree with Mr. Evans' assessment that the scrutiny of a newly created position, it's one thing when you add some additional police officers when that's an already created position, but when it's a newly created position, newly created department with a newly created purpose, I do think we should pause. So I don't think it's unwise to say no today and have the conversations and put it in a supplement throughout the year or wait another year, whatever the case may be, on something that we all agreed upon. I think that would be the better way to go. So with that, that's the reason. I've told everybody that rationale over the last week, so it's not a surprise to anybody. But that's why tonight I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Our finance officer wants to weigh in here on something. Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Joel's not here, but he has said in the past that if you add anything to the second reading of a budget ordinance, you will have to repeat second reading at the next council meeting. So if you approve it tonight to add the $80,000, you will have to have second reading again on the 19th. Just wanted you to be aware.
Thank you. Laura Armstrong for minute 40.
Thank you. Just want to push back just a little bit respectfully. Mr. Evans touched on this. No other position has gotten this scrutiny, not the parking coordinator, human services coordinator, our culture strategist, the chief of staff, the grant writer that we're talking about. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. Again, I'm going to say this is responsible stewardship. And while we throw out these accolades of we appreciate you, we appreciate you, we appreciate you, there's a time for action. We've heard these words, they have heard these words for years upon years. So a no now, that does not mean a no later. That's what they've been hearing year after year after year. So last year it was no, not now, but next year. 2 years ago, same thing. We're in a pattern right now. We have an opportunity to actually take action and show them, demonstrate that we do appreciate that we are listening to them by placing this in the budget, and then we can go through a conservative, timely roadmap. And people that have concerns can voice their concerns along the way and be a part of this, and we can bang this out. This is doable. And once again, I'm going to ask my colleagues to have courage and do this. Thank you.
Pat Jones, minute 36.
Thank you, Mayor. Question for Councilwoman Armstrong, if I may.
Yes, if she's willing to answer.
Thank you. You mentioned of the $80,000. Is that the cap as far as salary and benefits and everything, or is that the introductory salary plus the benefit package on top of that?
I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm not a human resources person, but I would defer to human resources. I think our sustainability coordinator, our sustainability committee, sorry, a lot of C words here, gave that as a potential salary, but we also need to defer to the Gallagher report that we're waiting for the end of the year, see what they say. Once again, we say that we're going to defer to the experts. We're deferring to the experts, whether it's sustainability, human resources, community development, and us as a council.
So the 80,000 is a ballpark place to start. We would not come up with any final decision on that until the process plays out and we gather more information as well.
I think if we just do it step by step by step, and I will say the first step is voting yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
As I understand the motion, everyone, it's to add $80,000 to the budget. Funding source is sales tax, additional sales tax. John Roberts.
I didn't realize that was an actual funding source. What is the funding source, Pauline?
You're just upping the sales tax estimation by $80,000.
What he said.
Okay, interesting.
And
okay.
she's given her okay that's within
So I'm
her
going to,
comfort.
thank you very much, I appreciate that. So I'm going to chime in my 2 cents real quick on this. You know, I do briefly remember this a little bit last year and the year before that. But I am going to vote no this year on it. And it's not because I don't believe that this is something that we should do, but I do believe the same as Jesse does, that this is bad budgeting when you actually are putting something in the budget for something that's not been fully vetted yet. So what I think is interesting about this is this has been a process that's been almost 2 years. Why didn't the committee bring forward a job description on this? I have not seen it. So, have you seen it, Mr. Mayor?
I can't recall it. I'm not saying no, but I can't recall it.
I did.
So, okay. Well, that should have been put into the budget, or we should have seen copies of that before this was added in my opinion, before this was added into the budget. So, and you know, giving us copies, put it in an email, call us, do whatever. I mean, you know, these discussions, and give me that sad face, Laura, because it's, you know, I mean, I think, my personal opinion, it has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with partisan politics, which is a bunch of BS in my opinion. But without a good plan in front of us, I don't think we should be budgeting for this. That's my opinion, and I'm going to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Evans, minute 25.
Well, I do believe I gave the mayor a job description. I worked on that, I believe, with Lizanne and Alan many, many months ago, and gave it to you. And the problem with the process in this city is if there's no leadership, no taking the bull by the horns, no belief in that particular project, it goes nowhere. That's the way our city is structured. And it's very frustrating for me to see good ideas just go to the trash heap because certain individuals or groups don't believe it's possible. Well, I do believe these things are possible, and we need to start giving a chance for them to happen rather than say to no. Always the no, the hard no to things that people don't understand or don't get the reason, the rationale behind. Now, there's a reason why all the major corporations have these. There's a reason why all the universities have these. There's a reason why all the surrounding communities have these. So it's not like it's unexplored territory. Those people aren't all just way stupider than us and they were too dumb to realize this is something they should reject. I think it's a mark on our city that we're not very forward thinking when we don't do this little step toward making something that is so critical to you know, the way people perceive the town and the ability for the people that are trying to market this show us off as somebody that can move forward, not always somebody that's lagging behind. So again, now's the time to act and put our money where our mouth is. Thank you.
Richie Nordstrom, 2 minutes, 40 seconds.
Thank you, Mayor. The roadmap that's in front of us, I don't know if it's been explained very well, but the editing and the finalization of the job description is step number 4. I'll just remind everybody that the roadmap looks something like this. The step 1 is approve the position for the 23 budget. Step 2 is to create a task force, and that includes HR, council, departments, and other work groups. Step 3 is December 2022 is the deadline for the task force conclusions and then review of the Gallagher report findings. Step 4 is make adjustments, edits, and finalize the job descriptions, including measurable goals. Step 5 is the February 2023 post vacancy and prepare the hiring panel. And then step 6 is the interview for the candidate. And so that's the roadmap that I'm comfortable with. Thank you, Mayor. I'll yield.
Okay. Jesse Ham, 2 minutes, 45.
Thank you. I do appreciate the roadmap, and I would be very comfortable with that if we were on step 5 right now. I'm not concerned that these people that are involved here are lacking anything. I just am quite confident that this process, we've skipped 5 steps and we're voting on something that will ultimately be very difficult to undo. If, for instance, the Gallagher report doesn't support our decision today. I don't think that necessarily happened, but I don't know. So I'd like to have a little bit more information and some more specificity for how this role will fit our community before I vote yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Laura Armstrong is timed out. No. So, John Roberts, 4 minutes. Okay, is there any objection to calling the question? Okay, question's been called. We'll go to a, the motion is to approve the 2023 budget with the addition of a sustainability coordinator at $80,000 all in. And we'll go to a roll call vote, please.
Armstrong. Jones.
Yes.
Lehman.
No.
Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Roseland. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Ham.
No.
Roberts. Stroman. Roseland.
Excuse me, Heidi? Or you're calling Roseland again?
Roseland, yeah.
All right, well, let's call it. Motion passes 5-4. Is that correct?
Has to be 6.
Oh, right. Okay, so we have 5 votes.
Pat Roseland, are you on the phone?
Well, look, folks.
Can you hear me?
Pat,
Yes.
how are you voting on the motion that was made on item
I'm voting
16?
yes.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Yeah.
the motion passes in 6-4. On to legal finance, and we will be repeating then the second reading at the next city council meeting. Okay. Now, Legal and Finance Committee items. Authorize staff to collaborate with the Monument and Visit Rapid City to hire Oxford Economics, Tourism Economics for up to $12,000 for the city's share to conduct an economic impact study to determine the economic impact of the monument on the regional economy.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion to approve Stroman, second Armstrong. We'll go to Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This is a really, really exciting thing that we can be taking part in right now. We hear all the time, many groups talk about how bringing this event to town will bring money to the city, or bringing this in. Well, you know, we know that events bring money to the city, and those are good things for the most part and that kind of thing. But now we're going to take a big, giant, grown-up step and really study what those things do, which events do what, and how much, and why. And it will give us a broad picture to look forward today, a year from now, 10 years from now, on how to bring events, how to sustain events, and how to market Rapid City in a much better way than we ever knew how to do. Data-driven decision-making is the way to go, and with the director of Visit Rapid City, the director of our fabulous monument facility in place to run this, it's just a very, very exciting time It's extremely worth the money, and the information we will get from it will serve us very, very well. I encourage everyone to vote in support of this. Thank you.
Okay. Then we have a motion to approve item 62. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Community development items, item 63, a request by KTM Design Solutions for Black Hills Capital LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 through 27 of Block 1, lots 1 through 37 of Block 2, lots 1 through 7 of Block 3, lots 1 through 40 of Block 4, lots 1 through 20 of Block 5, lots 1 through 3 of Block 6, lots 1 through 11 of Block 7 of Shepherd Hills East subdivision, generally described as being located north of East Anamosa Street, and the recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Motion by Lehman to approve with stipulations. Second by Jones. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 64, a request by FMG Engineering for Inland Truck Parts Company for a preliminary subdivision for proposed Lot 1 and Lot 2 of Inland Subdivision, generally described as being located northeast of the intersection of Dias and East Mall Drive. And again, the recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Motion to approve by Jones. Second by Laura Armstrong to approve with stipulations. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item 65, first reading, ordinance 6546, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Ferber Engineering Company for Peaches LLC for a rezoning request from General Agricultural District to General Commercial District for property generally described as being located south of Eglin Street, west of Luna Avenue. Pat Jones.
May I ask a question before there's a motion been made on it?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Probably for Director Fisher, what is the plan for use of this land then with this change of zoning?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Vicki Fisher.
So this is a preliminary step to take what is currently general ag being utilized as a holding zone and to rezone it general commercial. We have not yet seen a land use plan on this particular parcel at this time.
So if there's approval tonight, then that would be the next step?
It would be, and please remember that the future land use plan just does identify that the appropriate use of this property is general commercial.
Is that within a zone where a marijuana shop can be?
It is, but based on its location, I believe it would trigger a conditional use permit. So that would be something that would go before the Planning Commission and, if appealed, to City Council.
At this time, there's no indication as to what the use is.
There isn't.
Thank you.
Okay, motion on item 65 then? Anyone? Motion to approve Lehman, second by Roberts. Okay, all in favor of approval of 65, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Staff items. Item 66, approve resolution number 2022-073, a resolution to limit the number of package liquor licenses available in Rapid City. We'll go to Finance Director Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the resolution you authorized me to work with the City Attorney's Office to bring forward. Based on the new census data, we were able to have additional licenses. This does not max them out, but it does provide additional ones. And it would be effective for 2023.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve by Roberts. Second by Lehman. And all in favor of approval of item 66, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing items 67 through 72. There are no speaker requests for these items, so we'll not have a public hearing. Then we'll move on to consent public hearing items 67 through 69. Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to point out on item 68, Dunham Field at O'Hara Stadium is the proper name, H-A-R-R-A, not to be confused with Lyle Hare Stadium in Spearfish at Black Hills State. So South Dakota School of Mines is O'Hara Stadium, Dunham Field at O'Hara.
So in
Has to
other
be better
words,
pun
you
there.
don't want Spearfish to have this liquor license?
Nope.
Fine for tomorrow then. All right, that typo is duly noted. Pat Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. A question probably for our finance director. I guess I'm not sure why these alcohol license requests are here, and then there was a handful of them at the beginning of the agenda as well. What's the difference between the two, and why are they placed separately, please?
The answer is because the ones at the beginning were set for a hearing, and the ones within this group are, this is the hearing.
That's correct, what the mayor said. They didn't, and my voice got a few octaves deeper, I think.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Would the council like to approve these consent items or pull any for separate consideration? Motion to approve by Roberts, second by Lehman for approval of items 67 through 69. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. That's the end of consent public hearing items. Non-consent public hearing items, items 70 through 72. Item 70, second reading, ordinance 6546, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by FMG Engineering for Inland Truck Parts Company for a rezoning request from heavy industrial district to light industrial for property generally described as being located east of Dias Avenue and north of East Mall Drive. Motion to approve by Jones. Second by Evans. Everybody jump at once. All in favor of the motion to approve item 70, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 71, second reading, ordinance 6547, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by KTM Design Solutions for Black Hills Capital LLC for a rezoning request from general agricultural to medium-density residential district for property generally described as being located north of Fran Way. Motion to approve by Jones, second by Evans. All in favor of approval of 71, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 72, second reading, ordinance 6548. An ordinance amending section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by KTM Design Solution for Black Hills Capital LLC for a rezoning request from general agricultural to medium-density residential district for property generally described as being located north of Fran Way. Who made a motion? Motion by Solomon, second by Roberts. And all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 73, the bill list. We'll go to Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no additions to the bill list, so the total is that which is attached at $9,829,501.18.
Approve Solomon, second by Jones. All in favor of approving the bill list, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn, Armstrong, second Stroman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we're adjourned, everyone. Thank you.